Hello everybody, my name's Christine Martin and it's lovely to be able to come and share with you this way. I'm very disappointed I'm not able to be there for your celebrations this weekend. I have a previous engagement at Collaroy Centre this weekend, so I was very disappointed I couldn't come. But Captain Sandy had contacted me and asked if I could just come and give you some highlights of the beginnings of Forster Tuncurry as a corps. We followed Envoy Craig Walker to Forster Tuncurry, and Gary and I were commissioned as officers in 1986, and we were appointed to Taree as assistant officers with responsibility of Forster Tuncurry. So we were pretty excited. And I remember leaving the college and Commissioner Ian Cutmore called us all aside, individuals, before we went to our appointments, and he put a challenge to Gary and I, and he said he would like to see Forster Tuncurry become a corps within 2 years. So that was really great. We were pretty excited leaving with that, and as two bright and conscientious young officers, we were pretty keen to see that happen. So we arrived at Forster Tuncurry, and I can remember arriving at 54 the Lakes Way, and it was a little house there, a little fibro house, and it was quite a quaint little place on a very big property. And we arrived in there, and I can remember the bright green vinyl lounge, one of those ones that flip down like a double bed, and the bright orange dining room table, vinyl dining room chairs and the dining room table. And I remember the bright green net curtains, so it was quite, 70s sort of a style. But what was really lovely about that is that Joy and Les Hobson had already been in the house, and they'd packed up the fridge with food, and there was food in the pantry, and we had lovely flowers, and we had fruit on the table, and we were made feel very welcome. And we always felt that from the corps folk there at Forster Tuncurry. And so that was pretty exciting. It was just a little 2-bedroom fibro house, and I remember that it didn't have a bath in that little house. And I remember not long down the track, we came home from being away at, I think, at officers' councils, and we walked in, and I went into the bathroom, and the bathroom had been redone. And I remember that Les Hobson had surprised us, and while we'd been away, he just renovated the bathroom for us. And I came in, and I remember just being quite emotional about that and very thankful. And I can remember ringing Les straight away and just saying thank you, because I just knew it was him, because Les did that kind of thing. But we'll talk about Les a little bit later. So that was the beginnings for us, the very first arriving there. I remember Craig had a nucleus of people there that he helped and a lot in the community, but the little nucleus of core people. And I can remember their names, so I've written some of them down for you. Of course, was Les and Joy Hobson, and Alan and Jeanette Pigeon. There was Doreen Campbell. I remember Doreen, she was a really sweet lady. I remember Pam Leon, she was an Aboriginal lady that was heavily involved in Home League there, and she just loved coming to Home League. I remember the Honus family very well. David Rogerson and Val, and Val's husband, Cess Rogerson. I remember Lynn, but I can't remember Lynn's last name, but she was an integral part of that first little corps as well. I remember Helen, who was a Greek or Italian lady, and she used to love to come to Home League. And I remember Aileen and Warren, and they also were a part of the corps there. And I can remember having Home League within the quarters each week, and that was pretty good. I can remember having all other corps activities within the quarters. I remember having jumble sales from our garage, so everything was stored in there, and we'd have to pull it out each month, and that was a good source of income for the little outpost at that time. But we soon found a shop on the Forster side, and we started up a thrift shop there, which is a great source of income for the corps later on. And we bought a little truck, which was pretty good, and I can remember Gary painting a massive big red shield sign on the side of that. So everybody knew the Salvation Army was really in Forster Tuncurry and that we were about business. And so that was exciting, those times. We then had to look at a place for worship. We were worshipping in the baby health care centre, and it was only fairly small, and as the corps or the outpost started to develop, we needed to move into another centre. So I think we moved into the Tourist Information Centre there, and we had meetings there for a while. and people were coming and people were being saved, and that was pretty exciting. Les Hobson had a bit of a dream, he always did, for Forster Tuncurry, and he designed a lovely church that we'd be able to build there. And Joy and Les went over to America to visit their daughter Carolyn, as they usually did annually, to go and see her and spend time with her. And during that time, while Les was away, the RSL club at Tuncurry became available for sale, and we were pretty excited about it. So Gary and I just went over one day to have a look, and we walked through it and we thought, this is incredible, this has got so much potential. And we recall that, you know, Commissioner Ian Cutmore had said to us when we left college that he wanted it to be a core within 2 years. And so we thought, we found out that he was doing a weekend camp up on the Lakes Way. And so we thought maybe we'd be able to get him to come and have a look at the RSL club. So Gary contacted him and he said, well, I've only got a couple of hours available, but he said, Gary, if you can come and get me, I'll come and have a look. So Gary bolted on down there and picked him up and took him to the RSL club, and he thought it was fantastic, a wonderful opportunity. The hall was only $100,000 to purchase, and so that was a really good buy at that time. And so the Army moved very, very quickly on it, and within 3 weeks THQ had approved it, and the sale had gone through. So we were kind of pretty excited, but then we were really worried about what we'd say to Les, because he had other ideas about, you know, building a hall. And so Les came back from overseas and he got a bit of a shock that we'd actually purchased a hall. The Salvation Army had purchased a hall, but Les, it didn't take Les long, and he was in boots and all, and he just really loved the place. Gary and Les and Phil, Les's son, and the men in the Corps renovated the building. A lot of the work was done just by locals, and a lot of putting up the gyprock inside and painting. I can remember as husband and wife bringing the 4 kids down of a night and putting them all in there in their sleeping bags, and we would just paint at night time after our work was done during the day. I recall Gary actually painting the roof of that building in silver. He did that all by himself, and that was a really big job, a couple of times over. I can remember Les doing so much out in the kitchen and throughout everything. There was one funny incident though. We had to furnish the hall, and we thought, how could we do this fairly cheaply? And at that time Congress Hall was closing down, and they were about to refurbish everything in their hall. And so Gary caught wind of it, and Errol Woodbury said to Gary, if there's some things you need, come down to Congress Hall, we're closing up, come down and see what you'd like. So Gary and Les hopped in the Corps truck, and they went down there to Congress Hall. And I remember Gary saying often that it was really embarrassing because Les would just take anything that wasn't nailed down. And that's how Les was. But he even took things that were bolted down, because they brought back chairs, all the Congress Hall chairs. So not only did we have the carpet from Congress Hall, great big rolls of carpet came back, they ripped that up down there. That came back, the chairs came back, Holiness table came back. I think I know the etched doors there that you have now, they're Congress Hall doors from the old building. And so, yeah, there was lots of things that came back, and that was pretty exciting. And it was done at a very minimal cost to Forster Tuncurry Corps. So everything just sort of came together, and it was great. But more so, people's lives were being changed. We were reaching people in the community, which was really great. And new people were coming to the Corps, and it was establishing itself. So within 2 years it did become a Corps. Commissioner John Clinch, he was a special guest for the weekend, and he opened the Forster Tuncurry Hall and established it as a Corps at the same time. We were supported, and always were supported, by Taree Corps. They were a great support for anything. If we needed them for things down in Forster Tuncurry in the community, the band would come, or Major and Mrs. Kinder would come and support us, so that was really great. So that weekend was a big weekend, and it was very exciting. But then families started to come to the Corps. Our youth group grew because of families coming to the Corps. One particular family that we have a lot of love for is the Hardacre family, and it was a privilege to be able to enrol 5 of them at one time. They had a younger daughter, and she became a junior soldier, but the others all became senior soldiers. So that was a really exciting thing. And also with that, there was a blossoming relationship between David and Tanya, So that was really nice, Tanya Honus. And they got married, and it was lovely to be able to conduct their wedding as well. So all these people played a really important part in establishing Forster Tuncurry Corps. There was a lot of programs that we developed, and I can recall the youth group took off just because of the group of the families that were getting involved in the Corps, and it naturally attracted other young people. Gary also developed a gymnasium there, and that was every couple of nights a week, and that was held opposite the quarters in Stewart Parade there in the Oval and in the rooms there. And he had about 10, 11 boys that would come to that a couple of times a week, which was really good. Gary and I also enjoyed the beautiful area in Forster Tuncurry, so we took advantage of that. It was beautiful, the beaches and swimming, and it was just a lovely place for a young family to grow up and to develop. We also, the kingdom grew. We had 2 children while we were there, and so we had Andrew and Jenny. Andy was born in Tuncurry Hospital, and Jenny was born in Taree Hospital. So we have lovely fond memories of that, of our family developing. So we arrived with 2 children, and we left Forster Tuncurry with 4. I can also remember times, I think particularly of people that have gone now, and I think of Les and I think of Marlene Honus, and we love them dearly. And Marlene and Tanya used to work just so tirelessly, you know. They'd always be sewing something, or sewing for Home League, or making something for either YP anniversaries, or they were cooking for something, or special things, or suppers, and they were just fantastic. And I think of Marlene today, and I have very fond memories of what she did and what she contributed to those very early years, and continued to contribute there in the Corps. She was a lovely lady, and I was very sad to hear that she'd gone. Also with Les Hobson, he was just a little dynamo, and we loved Les. And I think about as Corps officers, it was our first Corps, and for Gary it was the first soldier that had gone to be with Jesus, and for Gary that was a really important time for him and Les. He pastored Les through that and the family. And it was very moving because they'd worked so closely together, and they'd seen Les deteriorate with the cancer, and we had hoped and prayed that Les would have pulled through, but that wasn't to be. And so I remember that time fondly, and we remember his funeral service too. And yeah, just pretty lovely memories to have. I think too of all the people there, I think of the Honuses, and I think of Joy and Les, and I think of Alan and Jeanette, and they were also always very hospitable to this young family, and that was pretty special to us as a young family. We shared a lot of meals together, and we shared a lot together as a Corps, all the people, and we were very close. There's lots of memories, lots of wonderful things that have happened, and people within the community that we reached that didn't necessarily come to worship or come to become soldiers of Forster Tuncurry Corps, but still people that we reached in the community. We're very heavily involved in the Ministers Fraternal there, and Gary would be involved in regular prayer meetings with them. Our Sunday schools were good, and the Home League was always really great, and under the leadership of Marlene and Jeanette and Joy. I can remember Joy being our Corps pianist, and that was really great. She started off with fear and trepidation first up, but she did so well, it didn't take her long at all. And yeah, there's so many memories, and I thank God for them. It was a great time. And so I just hope that you have a wonderful celebration this weekend. As I said, I would have loved to have been there. And I thank God for our 4 years there. They made us into the officers that we became, and it was really important. Made lots of mistakes in those early years, but lots of good things happened, and God is bigger than our mistakes, so that, thank goodness for that. And so it was just a wonderful time. So all our children are much older now. We have Paula, who is 30, Peter, who's 28, Andy, who's 26, and Jenny, who's now 24, and with 4 grandchildren and another one on the way. So lots happened in 25 years. So thank you for this time. I pray God's blessing upon Sandy and upon Michael there as they continue the work there in Forster Tuncurry. It's just exciting to know that it's still continuing, and we just thank God for that. and we just pray His blessing upon you all. Bye-bye.